Welcome back to the double leg. I'm one half of the show, Hey Jar Picks. The other half of the show, the parlay. Joining me in to recap some UFC Vegas 76. Let's get into it. Fraud check, can we say that, on Abus Magomedov? I don't know. I mean, you could say it. I don't know if it would be entirely accurate, but it was a very big step up in competition. And he was not ready for that big of a jump. And it was very, very adamant because Sean Strickland knocked him out in the second round. When was the last time you heard that? Like, Sean Strickland's not necessarily a finisher. He just made the man quit in the second round after losing the first, getting eye poked to the first, and then coming back. And thank God he came back, because if that ended in a no contest first round eye poke, that would have sucked. But either way, he got it done. Second round. Can you call it a big win for Sean? Because, I mean, I think you can. Another main event spot where he gets a finish in. But either way, he just looked levels above him after, the first 5 minutes. It looked like he didn't belong in there at all. What'd you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good win for him just because of the performance, the finish. I mean, if Sean goes out there and beats this dude by decision, then you start talking about, like, okay, you couldn't finish the guy who looked bad and, was only in his second UFC fight. So I think he did himself a favor there getting the early finish, and that's, looks really good to the fans. It's good for him. A lot of people diss on Sean Strickland for having pillow hands, but the dude's just like, he's not strong and he doesn't hit really hard, but he's so aggressive with it. And he just, once he has you just a little bit hurt, we saw tonight, he'll put it on dudes. Those combinations, rip the body, come upstairs. And you could tell when Magomedov got tired, he just couldn't eat those shots, even though they aren't the biggest powerful shots in the world, but they add up for sure. Strickland, not the most talented fighter in the division or the UFC, not the worst. He just looks like an average fighter in there, but he just makes dudes crumble with that pressure and the pace, and he doesn't slow down. So, but that division is weird right now. Everybody in the top 10, besides basically him and Dricus, have fought and lost to Izzy. So, I mean, you're going to start doing rematches, or you're going to let, Sean Strickland coming off of a win over two prospects get a shot if, after Robert Whitaker and Dricus get done, and whoever wins that probably fighting them next. But, yeah, man, it's an interesting spot for Sean Strickland right now.
Yeah, we will discuss that in more detail moving forward. But obviously the main card is going to be the talk of the card, especially when you get a big finish like that by Sean Strickland. But overall, the card's pretty dang good. You got a lot of upsets. You got a lot of big finishes, a lot of big performances for guys, a lot of contenders showing up, and some of them not showing up, a.k.a. Ishmael Bonfim. But as far as the bets go for the premium picks, another week where we were both in the profit. And 6 weeks in the profit straight for me. I went up 2.09 units. So not a bad day, not a 5-unit day like last week, but any week that you're in the profit is a great week. Hit Fakhretdinov. That was both a big play for us. We were on him. He made it look easy. We had the dog of the week, Luana Carolina. That was the free play on the double leg Instagram. We gave out plus 200 on the money line. Hit that one. Morales by decision was a little kind of a sweat because he was putting it on Max Griffin there, but a nice little plus 170 cash there. The unders parlay for even money. And it's just a pretty decent card overall. No big, super massive hits, but just some steady wins across the board. And we're going to take those units moving forward. How'd it go for you?
Yeah, I was up 2.8 units on the night. Actually threw in a little live bet on Ariane Lipsky in the third round. Just because, man, she didn't look that bad in the first. I thought she could have won the first. Second round, obviously she lost, but she was plus 200. So it's like you kind of have to at that point, because if she doesn't get taken down, she's winning the exchanges on the feet. So, it would have been, we're not going to count it, but 4 units moving on if in total, I guess, for me. So overall for me, it was a good night. My 3 biggest plays: Sean Strickland, Hanat Fakhretdinov, and then Luana Carolina. Those are the 3 fights I was heavily invested in, and they all won, so that helped a lot. I lost on Damir Ismagulov and also on Bagoy Ivanov. So, Yeah, who would have thought though that Romanov would be the one to gas, or wouldn't gas as bad as Magomedov did in the main event? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, yeah, going back to the live bets, we don't really track those as far as the premium bets go because it's kind of hard to tail those. But that is a perk of being a part of the premium package because you're in the Discord and we're talking through it there. So we both had Lipsky live. I took her after round 2. It was at like plus 245. And then I also took Sean Strickland after round 1, which I said on the preview show. So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you watch the preview show because gave that a little sauce out at the beginning of the week. It was even money, and he took over from there. It was a no sweat from that point out. So, yeah, that's all there is for the premium. We're looking to stay hot going into UFC 290, but we're gonna go back to the main event: Sean Strickland and Abus Magomedov. We kind of touched on it as far as how the performance went, but moving forward, where do you go for both of these guys? Because you got Sean Strickland ranked number 7 middleweight division. I think there's kind of 3 options you could do with him. You could either set him up with Marvin Vettori, which is like probably the most boring option for him. And they're also kind of teammates, or they at least train together. So I don't know if they would do that. And then you got Sean Strickland versus the loser of Duplessis or Robert Whitaker, which is also, it kind of lines up as far as like timeline because they're fighting next week. But if neither of those guys are ready to go for Israel Adesanya in September, there's a world where he could get a title shot against Izzy in September. Probably a little bit of a long shot, but he hasn't fought Izzy yet. He is a fresh blood, and you know how Izzy likes his fresh blood. So it is possible. What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think definitely the winner between Robert Whitaker and Dricus du Plessis probably next because the storyline's great if Dricus wins. Obviously, him and Izzy going back and forth on social media, the whole Africa versus Africa thing. And then if Robert Whitaker wins, he's a legend. He's beaten everybody else he's supposed to beat to get back to Izzy for the 3rd time. So it's like you kind of owe him the respect to put him in there one more time and give him one more try against Izzy because outside of Adesanya, Robert Whitaker probably is the other, top best middleweight right now. But Sean Strickland, man, he's the only other dude that hasn't really fought Izzy. So I think you give Sean the loser of Dricus and Robert Whitaker, and then you also have him maybe as the backup on that Australia card in case somebody falls out and you need somebody to step in for the main event because he'll step in, he'll fight anybody. He's that perfect guy to where you can always count on him. I mean, taking this fight against Magomedov really made no sense to him besides a good paycheck. And he went in there and gets that round 2 KO. So, yeah, props to Sean Strickland. The dude is an entertaining. He's not the most exciting fighter to watch, but the dude's entertaining. You tune in to see him either lose or run his mouth after his win. So, yeah, props to him, man.
Here's the question: if the winner between Whitaker and du Plessis are not healthy enough to fight Izzy in September, do you favor Cannonier for the title shot or do you favor Sean Strickland? Because Cannonier has the win over Sean Strickland, but he's already lost to Izzy. So who would you favor as far as getting that shot?
I think you go Strickland because once again, it's new blood. I think, leading up to that, there's a lot more to build a fight off of. I don't think Cannonier is going to go in there and talk a bunch of shit to Izzy. They obviously after they fought, it seemed like there was a lot of respect between the two in the octagon. But Sean at the press conference in Miami, or was it Miami, wherever it was, when him and Izzy were going back and forth. I mean, there's some bad blood there. Those guys will go at it. You can sell the fight better on those two. So I think they'd probably give it to Strickland just because, Cannonier, maybe he deserves one more shot being 40 years old or nearly 40. But Sean's coming off of a round 2 finish over a guy that, had some hype. He's now finished 2 prospects. Like maybe the UFC said, hey, if we give you Abus Magomedov, we'll promise you the next title shot or at least a title shot in the near future if you take this fight. So I don't know. I think you give it to Sean, but it's a better storyline, better trash talk, better lead up, maybe some more views and pay-per-view buys doing it with Strickland.
Yeah, I think it would too. But I don't think there's any world that Sean Strickland would take the backup spot. I don't think he would.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think he would. I think if it was like a short notice, he would take it, but he's not going to plan on going in there and just weighing in.
Too much work, huh?
Yeah, he's like, nah, if I'm not going to fight, then I'm not going to cut this weight. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
that's just how I see it. But yeah, exciting stuff for Magomedov. Where do you go with this for Magomedov? Because he's still unranked in the middleweight division. It's like, who do you give him next?
Yeah, the sad thing is for him, it's like you had an amazing performance against Stoltzfus with the KO, right off the bat, looked like a world beater, and nobody's going to remember that now because you just got knocked out by Sean Strickland in the second round. So, I mean, I don't think it's time to call it quits and just cut him or not give him any good fights. I think with his name, Magomedovs and stuff always seem to get that next fight. They're going to fight a decent fighter. I just give him somebody around top 25. I mean, I don't think he's ready for the top 10. I don't know why he even got this fight, and it showed big time. So, yeah, just if you want to take your time a little with the dude, build him up. Don't give him Sean Strickland or one of these, killers who are game as hell to fight in the top 10 and who have fought all the top guys. Just kind of build them up slowly. I don't know. Without looking, man, it's hard to tell who they put him up against, but yeah, definitely not a top 10 guy again.
Yeah, I will say this. I know I'm kind of being hard on him, calling him a fraud check, but you could see in the first round, like he's got some good skills. He's got some really good skills. And I just think going from 19 seconds in the octagon against a guy who was like damn near probably cut from the UFC in Stoltzfus, and then you're moving into a main event spot against a top 10 guy, and like you have a good first round, but you also have the eye poke that's like, so you have the adrenaline dump of like the fight starting, and then you eye poke them, and then you're like, oh shit, this like moment that I'm supposed to have might just end there, and then you're back in it, and then there's another adrenaline pump to you to be like, all right, I'm back in it. Had a good first round, and then then the downfall is like he hits him with a couple of good shots, and he's like, oh shit, like it was just done after that. So I don't think he's like, the cardio was like a terrible problem. Like obviously he gassed out, but I don't think he's like came in there like in bad shape. I would assume it just has to do with a lot of the mental aspect of it. Like big UFC fight, main event spot, a lot of ups and downs in that first minute and a half or first round and a half, and it just all went downhill. So
yeah,
that's also what Sean Strickland does. I mean, he just kind of breaks you down. So
right, and I think too, if he doesn't gas out there or get tired, if he has the same pace cardio that Sean Strickland does, this is probably a pretty close fight in the third round, and then the last round 4 and 5 are probably going to be the deciding factor if it were to go the distance, because you could tell in the first round like the dude does have skill, like he's a good solid fighter, but it's just his gas tank tonight failed him. And if it doesn't fail him though, it's a close fight in my opinion, because he definitely won round 1.
Yeah, I agree. But the gas tank that did not fail him this time, and I think that's kind of something you got to put in the past for Grant Dawson, because he's his first full camp at American Top Team, and he looked like an absolute killer going up against Damir Magomedov and just completely dominated. Got him to the ground, couldn't get back up, and that's like the ground game of Grant Dawson is like beautiful, man. Like I've been seeing it in his past couple fights. I'm like, this guy, if he gets you to the ground, he's got really good skills. The ability to just flow with every position on the ground is like, it's top notch. And Ismagulov is that all around fighter, and he couldn't really use any of those skills because Grant just got him to the ground and got him to the place that he wanted to. So big performance for KGD Dawson. Looking forward to who they match him up with next, but anyone's in for a rough night if you're not ready to deal with the grappling of Grant Dawson. So impressive.
Yeah, I was on Damir here for 1.5 units, and then I also hedged out with Grant Dawson by decision. So I thought if Damir lost, he's good enough defensively, he's not going to get finished. But man, I don't know what would have been more, I guess, impressive. Grant Dawson going out there and finding a big submission or knockout, or controlling in 30-26 and 30-27 on 2 judges' scorecards against a dude who's 24-2, 23-2. Like, that's impressive. Damir Ismagulov has 2 losses on a long pro MMA career, and Grant Dawson just went out there and completely dominated for 15 minutes. There wasn't a second in the fight where Damir Ismagulov was looking like he could pull this thing off. So yeah, that's super impressive to me. I think that's more impressive than finding a big finish here. Grant Dawson, though, if you can't stuff the takedowns against him, once you go to the ground, that body triangle, he does not let you have any air, no room for movement. The way he switches from side to side with the triangle, like the dude is so talented on the ground. He's the best control fighter in that division right now. And he's 20-1 now. So if a few more wins, this dude's going to be right in the mix.
Yeah, I saw he wanted to fight Tony Ferguson before Demir, and I don't know. That he's not gonna like brutalize Tony Ferguson like a lot of these guys have been, but I think Grant probably makes slight work of him. Yeah, at this point in his career. So yeah, I might want to just don't even make that matchup after watching what he did to Ismagulov. But another big rising prospect, still undefeated, Michael Morales getting it done, 29-28 on all the judges' scorecards. Dropped the first round, but the second and the third just brutalized them. And the dog and Max Griffin, I was backing because I had him Morales by decision. So I'm like, I don't see him finishing Griffin because Griffin's dog. He's got a good chin, and he's just got an ability to get out of there when he's getting hit with big shots. But Michael Morales put on some big shots on him, and I was surprised that he was able to hang in there. But overall, Michael Morales looks like a problem. I mean, that jab was long and stiff. Like, if you get hit with that, he punches like through you. Like, he's not just trying to touch you. Like, he's punching all the way through you, even on the jab. So yeah, I would not want to get hit by that guy. Only 24 years old, so he's going to keep getting him better. I was impressed with the takedown defense too. Griffin was in on some deep takedowns and couldn't get him down. Big, strong guy. And I thought Griffin looked like undersized compared to Morales too. So the guy he's a specimen. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I thought he looked undersized too. That's exactly what caught my eye in that first round. Because, I mean, Griffin's a tough dude, and he's not an easy out for anybody. And maybe Morales dropped that first round, but it's not like he got dominated or anything. And then being able to, lose a first round this early in your career to a vet like that and go on to win the next two convincingly, super impressive. Because, I mean, sometimes those veterans, they get one up on you. And if you're not going to finish the fight, it's a tough going. It's tough to beat those guys like Griffin. So, yeah, I was super impressed with him. He hits like a truck. You can tell in there he's still raw too. Like, his talent's still super raw, but he's getting better every single time. So a young 13, 14-0 fighter who is just now starting to catch his stride, getting better, getting more technical each fight. Yeah, he's definitely going to be a problem going forward too. So strong too. It's unbelievable. I think he's a guy you got to keep your eye on. And, a couple of years, we might see this dude at the top.
Yeah, for sure. Welterweight division is looking pretty dang good.
Oh, yeah.
As far as undefeated prospects, Ian Gary, Shavkat, Hamzat, if he was still a 170er, but a lot of good guys coming up there. The women's fight, Ariane Lipski, Melissa Gatto. I heard a lot of people saying robbery, but we were both kind of, I guess you could say, predicting the robbery, but I think we both just kind of looked at this like it's a women's MMA is a fairly close fight. Like, no girl was really doing too much to like separate themselves, and we saw that plus money on Ariane Lipski live, and we were like, we're all over that. But yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say about it. I didn't think it was like one girl definitively won like any round. To be honest, they were all all three pretty close rounds. Lipski, I think, probably secured the third round like the easiest. But the first two were fairly close. I'd probably give Gatto like round one, and then round two was fairly close. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. Like, at this point, you just kind of got to predict it. Just be like, oh, where's the plus money? I might just take a stab at it because that's where the value is. Close fight, and you see a line that big, just take a stab. And of course, we had the dynamic duo. Chris Lee and Sal D'Amato.
Exactly.
Both gave it to Ariane Lipski. So Sal gave Ariane Lipski a 30-27, which was a little generous, but we'll take it. Maybe you just got to start siding with these guys. What'd you think?
Exactly. Going into round three, you see whoever's the dog in a somewhat close fight. You see Chris Lee, Sal D'Amato. You go the dog money for sure every time. But no, I think probably what decided it to the judges was, Lipski was the one moving forward. She was the one kind of the aggressor when they were on the feet. I thought she landed the cleaner shots too in the first and third round. So, or second and third round. But Yeah, I think there's a case. Maybe Gato could have won it. There's a case for Lipsky. It's just one of those fights, man. Super close. Could have gone either way. And if you're holding a plus 200 ticket on a fight that's razor thin, like that's phenomenal value. I'll do it every single time.
Yeah, I expected Gatto to try to take it to the ground. She really couldn't get it there. She only attempted a couple, but Lipsky's big problem was, getting taken down. It looks like she shored that up.
Yeah, for sure.
Nunes, so plus money on her in the future might not be too bad. Back-to-back dog cashes for her. Benoit Saint-Denis, Ishmael Bonfim. I didn't have anything invested as far as the premium picks go, but he was the first leg in the 3-leg parlay. And of course, the first leg's gotta let you down. But I don't know what the game plan was for him. I mean, the guy literally came out there, took like 20 body kicks, and just kept taking them. He's like, keep throwing them, Benoit. Keep throwing those body kicks to me and just take all the gas out of me, take all the power away from me. And got taken down and got submitted. I didn't understand it because, like, in the past, Bonfim was super calculated, super accurate, super good takedown defense, and then he looked like a completely different fighter. So I don't know. Maybe you could say like the youth are just I don't even get what it was. I mean, he's 27, so he's been a pro since he was 14. He's been a pro for 13 years. So I can't really say it's like the youth that's coming out there with some weird game plan. Maybe he was just bonus hunting. But yeah, it was just weird. But props to Benoit. Cashing as a pretty big underdog, as a lot of these fighters did this tonight. So yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah, Benoit's like too tough of a dude to go out there and start headhunting and thinking you're just going to put him out and fight that style. Like if you're going to beat guys like Benoit Saint-Denis, you've got to be calculated. You've got to, be a little bit more strategic. Stop eating body kicks on purpose and raising your hand and telling them to bring it on. Like you got to be locked in because, I mean, Saint-Denis, he's tough. He hits hard. And then if he gets you on the ground, man, he's got 8 subs on his record and he got another one tonight. So yeah, I think Bonfim, it almost seemed like he maybe overlooked him a little bit or underestimated the grappling. Because man, he looked terrible in there. How do you go and finish Terrence McKinney like that and then go in there and just pretty much shit the bed against Saint-Denis, a guy that you were minus 300 and something against? And looking back, I think he got way too much respect from the books. I should have been all over Saint-Denis just from a value standpoint because the odds were insane. I think Bonfim's a good fighter. He's probably got he's going to get a lot of wins in the UFC, but I think this is going to be a huge learning lesson for him because at this level, man, there's no scrubs, especially a guy like Benoit Saint-Denis. So going forward, man, he's got to tighten it up a little bit, or this is going to happen to him when he fights strong grapplers with good submission games.
Yeah, I mean, he took this fight on short notice to fill in, so maybe he was like, all right, I could take this guy and probably just overlooked him. Nursultan Ruzaboyev, Bruno Fajeda, big finish in the first round by Ruzaboyev. What do you think about that one?
You were on him. That was phenomenal play by you. I made a video about this dude this week on TikTok and Instagram, just showcasing like what he's done so far in his career, how many wins he's got, being 34-8 or whatever he is. All the finishes, 20 subs, 10 knockouts. The dude's super impressive, regardless of what level he's fighting at. I got so many comments before the fight saying this dude's a can. He's fought nothing but cans, yada, yada, on and on and on. He just knocked out Bruno Fajeda, who is one of the scarier, has some of the more scarier power in the division. I mean, the dude just went and flatlined Gregory Rodriguez. And, this UFC debuter, Nursultan, he's tall, long, obviously hits like a truck, and has a great ground game too. Like if he can knock dudes out like that, and we don't even get to see the strongest part of his game on the ground, he could be a problem, man. He just knocked out a good undefeated fighter.
Yeah, I was hearing the same things from people. They're like, look at who Ruzaboyev has fought. They're all cans, and I mean, which is probably true. But like at the same time, it's like I don't care. He's an underdog. He's got a big size advantage over Bruno Fajeda. He's got the ability to knock him out. He's got the ability to submit him. So I think he was definitely worth the shot, especially inside the distance. Both guys usually throw caution to the wind a bit. And Fajeda was ranked top 30 in the world going into this fight. And for Ruzaboyev to go out there and finish him says a lot, especially the way he did it, because it wasn't like he had to get in this big brawl. He just did it pretty cleanly. And the frame of him is really it's going to be tough for anybody because you're fighting a guy that looks that big. It's tough to like have the confidence to go in there and throw your hands when you're Bruno Fajardo. That's what he wants to do. So yeah, I think it was the right play. I'm glad I played it. Unfortunately, the round one by submission didn't hit. I was kind of looking forward for a little club and sub, but apparently he just had that one shot knockout power and a couple follow up shots to put him out. But what I wanted him to do was what Rinat Fakhretdinov did to Kevin Lee, and either way, we cashed it on Fakhretdinov. But poor Kevin Lee, man, he didn't look good. He looked slow, man. He looked really slow. The knee sleeves came out. I hate when fighters wear knee sleeves. It's like, that makes no sense. Like, why are you wearing knee sleeves? That just tells me there's something wrong with your knees.
Right.
I don't even know what knee sleeves does to like relieve what's wrong with your knee. Like, does it hold shit in place or like what's the deal there? Like, they're just little sleeves. Like, I can't imagine they do too much other than like impede your ability to like get out of stuff or it's like, I don't even understand it. But either way, he comes out with them, gets knocked down within the first minute and gets submitted by the guillotine, which was it was just brutal to watch because, you know, we've seen Kevin Lee at the top of the food chain, and now he looks rough, man. Like, even after the Diego Sanchez fight, he looked like a shell of himself, and then comes in here and gets finished under a minute against the killer, though. I mean, he had no favors by any means. So, I mean, I guess it could have been just a prove it spot for the UFC. Like, you got to prove yourself against this guy that's on a 19 fight win streak, and he didn't prove himself. So, what's next for Kevin Lee? Who knows? But yeah, rough one for Kevin. What'd you think?
Yeah, Fakhretdinov was my biggest play of the night. I just thought that he'd come out there. I wasn't expecting the big right hand knockdown and immediate submission, but I thought he'd come out there and just wear on Kevin Lee and make it look like he was, you know, a minus 500 favorite. I thought we would see, you know, a Grant Dawson style fight with him just on Kevin Lee's back, throwing him down, holding him down. But man, Fakhretdinov proved a point tonight. Yeah, Kevin Lee's a shell of himself, but Kevin Lee's also a dude that has some of the most experience of any guy that was on the card tonight. Like, the dude has, I'm pretty sure, 18, now 19 UFC fights. He's fought the Charles Oliveira's, Tony Ferguson. He's fought the who's who. So for Fakhretdinov to come in there and do it in this fashion, super impressive. Herb Dean, you got to get in on that a little bit quicker, buddy, because his air supply was cut off for a good, 20 seconds while he's unconscious. Herb Dean couldn't quite figure out the angle. He wanted to go in and check and see if Kevin Lee was still there with us. But yeah, Kevin Lee, props for coming back and trying. But after that one, you got to be thinking about maybe hanging it up.
Yeah, he was probably had that in the back of his mind of the Daniel Argueta, Ronnie Lawrence. He's like, I don't want to fuck this up. And unfortunately, Kevin Lee had to go face down on the canvas. But yeah, I think the striking is dangerous for Fakhretdinov because you're so worried about the grappling. And you've seen it in his fight in the UAE Warriors. He had like a one-punch knockout in 55 seconds. Yeah. The same amount of time that he got the guillotine choke here. But it's not like pretty. He did hit a couple good jabs on Kevin Lee, but the overhand right has got some power in it. He hit Kevin Lee with it. And it was over at that point. So, yeah, poor Kevin Lee. Yeah, I don't know if I want to see him back or not after that.
And the UFC giving him Rinat Fakhretdinov for your welcome back fight. Like, that's a son of a bitch of a fight to come back to try to win. Like, the UFC did him no favors there at all.
Yeah, I feel like you could put him against like a Matt Brown or something. Like 70, like some older guy that's not gonna just like not like in their prime, but like still like a fun fight somewhat. Yeah.
Guy that's not on a 19 fight win streak.
Yeah, right. Well, maybe not Matt Brown because he's going for that KO record. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't know. Well, weird matchups for Kevin Lee. We'll see what they do. I'm interested to see what they do. But Joe Anderson Brito, you called it on the first round KO. I was scared to play it because it always seems like it goes the opposite way if I go KO or sub. So I laid off, but you hit the plus 200 was it?
Yeah, plus 200 for KO. I almost took him by sub or KO or just finish in the first round for like plus 115. But I just thought, this is a UFC debuter. You're a minus 1,200, minus 1,300 favorite at the time the line closed. Like, he's going to want to go out there and prove it with a big knockout, not just some submission where he's grappling and stuff. And boy, did he. I mean, those shots he was raining down were vicious. Made me a little bit nervous. I thought he was going to maybe try to sneak in a sub there. But, yeah, I loved cashing that one for sure. It just seemed like the writing was on the wall. He was going to get him out of there in the first round regardless.
How about that knee bar, though?
It made me a little nervous.
That was a little sketch.
But yeah, I mean, knee bars, the only way to defend him, start hitting the dude in the face. And that's exactly what he did. So.
Yeah, he hit him hard too. I mean, it was like it's pretty hard to knock a dude out like when you're in that position, and Rito put him out. He put him out, so props to him. But not that much because you were like a big favorite. So
yeah.
Yana Santos, Carol Rosa, another greasy women's MMA fight here. I don't even the fight IQ of Carol Rosa is awful. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I'm gonna be a little biased and a little pissed because I had her over 1.5 takedowns. But Yana Santos' entire career has a very poor takedown defense, 45% to be exact. And Carol Rosa shot one takedown, and it was 20 seconds before the end of the fight, and she got it. So at that point, I'm like, it was caked. But at the same time, I'm like, why didn't you do that earlier? Like, that is how you easily beat Yana Santos. You just take her down.
Yep.
She can't defend him, and she can't really get up. And she shot one takedown, which was dumb. I mean, she still gets the win, but it was a much closer fight than I think it needed to be. Maybe she got a little scared because she was getting pressed up against the cage from her in round one. But yeah, I mean, it's women's featherweight because they were fighting at 145. They're usually 135ers, but short notice for Rosa, so it's 145. Yeah, it was just rough to watch. Just rough to watch. These are ones you probably just lay off, but I can't resist.
Yeah. I didn't get to watch this fight with sound on or the decision, and I wasn't invested in it. I just had the over 2.5. Was it a split decision?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we talked about on the preview show. You might as well just take this fight to go, to win by a split decision, because it's how they always play out with lines like this in a women's fight like this. But yeah, man, just not much going. I thought a lot of people thought Santos won the fight. Just from me watching in and out, just checking to make sure it got past 2.5 rounds, not really fully watching it. It looked like Rosas was getting the better of her at times. So, yeah, I mean, who cares, honestly.
I mean, to sum it up, it was like first round, Yana Santos was like pressing her up against the cage and, landing some knees here and there. And she probably took round one. And then the next 2 rounds was like more at distance. And it was it was Rosa walking her down and Santos kind of bouncing around, like landing some kicks. So it was just, don't need to talk about it anymore. But we could talk about this one because it was quite exciting. Guram Kutatelats getting upset by Elvis Brenner after he damn near bled out on us there. What'd you think of it?
I don't know. Do you think Guram was up 2-0 going into the third?
I do believe he was, and I actually got the scorecards in front of me. So the judges all had it 20-18 for Guram going into the
okay. Okay, because it was another fight that I couldn't fully pay attention to, but when I was, it seemed like Brenner was on top a few times in the first round, had top control. Didn't see how it got down there, but went back and watched some highlights from it. I mean, Guram, this is another one. Like, how did I not take a chance on a massive dog like this when you got Guram, who has been so inactive, injuries, weight cut issues, canceled fight after canceled fight, no activity, against Brenner, a guy who trains with Oliveira, has that style, marches forward, is tough as nails, can strike, obviously, and who has a phenomenal ground game. Like, that should have been an easy sprinkle. Can't believe I didn't do it, especially at those massive odds. But congrats to Brenner, man. That's he's on a little roll now, and now he's beating dudes like Kutateladze. I mean, the sky's the limit for a kid like that.
Yeah, it was kind of back and forth for a lot of the fight, but it was like when Guram had his moments, like they were damn near like fight-ending moments. Like
Right.
they were a lot more significant. And then obviously you get the third round stoppage, and it looked like a shot to like the neck, and it kind of stunned him, and then he just went down. I was like, wow, like Kuta Dalad's going into this week. I'm like, he has a lot of hype for, he maybe it's just because he doesn't fight that much, like that often. But I mean, obviously the debut win over Gamrot like ages pretty well, but it was a split decision, and then the loss to Demir was a split decision loss. But it just seems like he's in close fights. Like even this one, it was a close fight until he got finished.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, he looks scary as hell, and maybe that's just why he gets so much hype. I mean, he's got a lot of skills, but at the same time, he's fighting close fights. Like he was a minus 600 or 700 favorite coming into this. So, yeah.
You wonder if he'd look better if, he was fighting 2 to 3 times a year. Because I just have a feeling like if you're a fighter at that level, you can train and spar all you want, but getting that value or that octagon time is so valuable. Like anything can't really compare to actually making that walk, standing in the octagon in front of fans, in front of national television, the adrenaline, all that. Like without that big experience at this level, like sometimes you're going to get beat by guys like this just from, adrenaline dumps and not having that experience and octagon time where you're learning a lot. So Brenner, he's got some wins on his record. He's got some octagon time, maybe not all at the UFC level, but at a decent level. He's got phenomenal training partners. So maybe you should have seen this one coming, but hats off to him. Garam, though, it's not like you just, cut the shit and throw away the key. I think he's definitely got a future, but hopefully just gets more active, man.
Yeah, no, still a super good fighter, but
yeah,
you look at like his fight with Ismagulov, and then you look at Ismagulov's fight with like a guy like Grant Dawson, who's ranked, I think he was 15 coming into this week. Like Grant Dawson handled him easily. I know MMA math doesn't work like that similar, but a close fight with Ismagulov, and then you kind of compare that. It's like, okay, well, where does Guram really stand with everything? But
yeah.
The dog of the week, as we alluded to earlier, Luana Carolina getting it done by decision, 29-28 on all the judges' scorecards against the debuting Ivana Petrovic. I can't say a lot of great things about our girl Luana, but she pulled it out. I was questioning her fight IQ because she was getting in these little entanglements on the ground with the leg locks, and she's been knee barred before. And I was just holding my breath because I was scared she was going to get she was winning. So I'm like, you're winning, just don't mess up. And then I was a little scared she wasn't going to pull it off, but she did. And props to her for pulling it off and getting a win in a much needed spot because she was on a little bit of a losing streak and stopped the hype of the debuter. So props to her. What'd you think?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved this place so much. Near 2-1 favorite to me. I think you got her at plus 200. I got her at 190. Phenomenal value in a fight that I think should have been a coin flip pick'em. And that's exactly a big reason why I took her. I thought the value was incredible. And, Petrovic is probably going to be a decent fighter, but we see it all the time in women's MMA. UFC debuter in women's MMA. Sometimes these girls fall short. Who was it? Jacqueline Amorim or Amorin?
Oh.
Yeah, however you say her name. We saw it again with Juliana Miller coming off the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, you see it all the time. You see these girls that are favored that shouldn't be favored. So you got to take the dog in some of these situations and just take a chance. And it paid off today.
Yeah, I mean, women's MMA could have easily gone 3-0 for the dogs.
Yeah.
And two of them being plus 200 or at least around that. So, yeah, definitely got to look at those always. Romanov and Blagoy. The boy Romanov came out with some kind of game plan. I mean, I gotta give him props because the game plan his entire career was go out there and spam takedowns and look to just smash guys. But he went out there, and I think he knew, he's like, I can't go out there and just blow my load against Blagoy because it's going to be a hard first takedown. It's going to be really tough to take this guy down when he's fresh. And I mean, he knew Blagoy doesn't really present too much of a threat on the feet. Like he's not going to go out there and just clip me like a guy like Volkov would with those kicks and the hard punches. So he had a good game plan coming into this one. So I got to give him props there. Is it that impressive? I don't know, because I mean it wasn't like a big dominant win, and it's against Blagoy, who's like he's like the gatekeeper to the top 10 of the heavyweights, and it's like the top 10 of the heavyweight. Anybody outside the top 10 of the heavyweights is like not much at all at this point. So yeah, it is what it is. But Romanov getting it done. And did you see his hair after that? I mean,
Yeah.
He looked like he took a shower after.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
dang. But yeah, I mean, he showed a pretty good stand-up game for, lower to mid-level heavyweights. So good improvements.
Yeah, imagine if he was 20, 30 pounds lighter, honestly. Even 15 pounds lighter. I don't get it. I think Romanov at the beginning of the fight was like, well, I didn't train for this one again. I'm out of shape. I cannot spam takedowns. I need to just keep this thing on the feet, land some shots here and there because, I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got off steroids or what the hell happened, but this dude used to be, pretty good shape, and now he's just not. And I think I wasn't mad about losing this bet I had on Blagoy Ivanov because I know you're going to make it back fading Romanov in the future still, because if you get a guy with a little bit more talent, a little bit more youth in a fight like it was tonight between these two, like I think Romanov gets beat. I think if a guy can stuff the takedowns and throw decent volume at you for a couple of rounds, guys are going to beat Romanov. I just don't think he's the most talented dude. I think he has won a lot of his fights with just brute strength when he gets fights to the ground. And as he get up towards the better fighters in the UFC, like it's just not going to work. And because I mean, he wasn't like gassed out like he usually is, but he didn't have a whole lot of energy too in the last few rounds. Thankfully, Blagoy is the same exact way at this age, or else it could have been a different story. But yeah, props to him for bouncing back off of a terrible performance, and then going 3 rounds and getting a decision win. I thought I would never hear the words Alexander Romanov by decision. So
yeah, I had a sneaky suspicion going into
yeah,
this week that it's like if Romanov can just be, not be dumb, like he could easily get a win here against Blagoy. I didn't think he would, but I knew the possibility was there. And I just don't think he respected anything that Blagoy threw at him because Blagoy hasn't had a finish in 6 years. So it's like he's not really, you can't really respect anything he throws at you. So okay, you can just stand and strike with him, just out volume him. He used his kicks pretty well. So
right.
yeah, and mixed in the takedowns at the end of the rounds and got some control time there. So yeah, props to him. But we'll move on to UFC 290 next week. Hopefully we can stay hot going into that one. We're going to be in attendance. So if you're there, if you're in Las Vegas, if you see us, say hi, and we'll get a pic with you or whatever you want, and we'll say hi. But yeah, moving forward, we got UFC 290 preview coming to you within the next day or two, and get you all that good stuff. But if you want to join the double leg premium, we're going for another week in the profit as we always go for. So thank you guys for all the support, and drop a sub to support the channel. At HeyJai Picks on the medias for me, at the double leg on the medias to stay up to date with everything going on here. Where can they find you?
At the Parlay MMA on all social medias.
All right. Till the preview show for UFC 290. Peace.